I'm 26, female, and I got married to my boyfriend of 3 years, 4 months ago. My husband and I live together, and while everything about our marriage is great, what really bothers me is my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law thinks I'm not worthy of her son. That is not surprising, as I have heard a lot of people struggling with this from their new in-laws. But what my mother-in-law does is very strange. She keeps coming over when I'm not home, and then she removes things from our house based on how she wants them. She would go through my stuff, put down the decor, move it around, change the blinds to her tastes, etc. I told my husband about this and explained to him that this is not something I'm comfortable with because I do not want my private space invaded this way. He did not tell his mother anything. From his perspective, I was stopping his mother from visiting him, which is okay and very abusive. His mother lives 3 hours from where we live, and if he wanted to visit them, he could just take a drive and visit them, but no. Before we married, he barely saw them 3 times a year, but the moment we got married, his whole personality regarding this changed. He refused to go to mother-in-law's house and kept inviting them over. Now, I grew up in the foster system and I have been through quite a few things. That is why I do not like my stuff being touched. I am not unreasonable about this. I just do not want people going through my things as I have my journals. I have different journals for different purposes, like a shadow journal, a bullet journal, a creative writing journal, etc. I did not want anybody other than me going through them because they definitely have things about me and my past I would rather not be forced to discuss. My husband knows about my journaling habit, and when I express my worry, he said I'm crazy and stupid, and that is why I'm being so oversensitive. Anybody who is of my age would stop with this childish nonsense and focus on their career, but here I was writing diaries. I realized that this conversation was going to be futile. Instead, I bought one of those inconspicuous safes and put my journals there. I kept the key with me all the time because I did not feel comfortable having them just out there. One day, I came home to my house completely turned upside down. Mother-in-law was sitting in the living room chatting with my husband, so it was clear she did all of this. I tried to put a smile on and spoke with her as calmly as possible. But it was not easy, as the way she looked at me gave me the creeps. She told me that she wanted us to come over to her house for dinner the next day. I was a little surprised because she had never invited me over for anything, as her invitations only extended to her son, but knowing I could go made me happy. That happiness disappeared when I realized that one of my journals was missing. I was looking for that particular journal everywhere, and it was not there. I guess I had left it outside because my safe was not broken into or anything. That filled me with dread about the dinner that was about to come. I could barely sleep the whole night. The whole day I was so anxious and fidgety. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, and my manager was worried about my well-being and sent me home. When I arrived at the dinner, there was everybody present, close as well as distant family. My anxiety was skyrocketing because the way mother-in-law was looking at me made me feel like she was waiting to see me break. I powered through the whole dinner, and that was when the bomb dropped. Mother-in-law got everyone's attention and started praising her son. She said that she's very proud of her son for giving a family to someone like me who doesn't know the first thing about having a family. My husband smiled and thanked her as if what she said was perfectly acceptable when it was not. I could see it in the faces of his cousins that they were just as shocked as I was. Mother-in-law continued and said that she always knew I was a little messed up because I never shared anything about my past with her. This is why she has this. Out comes my journal to show my past to everyone, making it easier for all of them to accept me for the broken person I am. I looked at my husband and asked him if this was true, and he told me that he thought this was a good decision as I am so closed off, and this was the best way I can break out of my shell. I was shocked. Before I could get up, my mother-in-law opened the journal and started reading. It was my creative writing journal where I had been working on my limerick making skills. The limericks did not make much sense, but limericks are not particularly meant to make sense. Watching her face twist into horror as she realized she picked the wrong journal was priceless. The adults of his family were just as confused as mother-in-law was because while she said she would talk about my past, here she was reading about cats and boots and hats. I stepped out of my seat and took the journal from her hand. I told her that she really should not take things that are not hers without asking. When I came back, my husband was fuming because how dare I make it obvious that he took my stuff without my permission. Mother-in-law had not stopped glaring that whole night. My husband has not been talking to me properly since then. It's been about 7 days since that day, and I'm still getting a cold shoulder from him. Update 1. I cover my journals with old newspapers, so essentially all of my journals look the same. I thought the journal that went missing was my trauma journal because I was writing in it, but I guess I had put it back and was writing something in the creative journal before leaving, but that had left my head completely. If I had known that my creative journal was missing, I would not have been so anxious, and that made me feel pretty stupid once I came back home with it, honestly. My mother-in-law has been coming over still after that has happened, and as my husband works from home, he's always there to entertain her and allow her to go through my stuff. But yeah, I moved the safe around now so that they can't find it. Update 2. My husband and I had a huge fight. After ignoring me for about 8 days, he found out about this post on Reddit. He brought it up and we had a huge argument. He thinks I painted him and his mother in a bad light. I am the one who is abusive because I do not want him hanging out with his mom. I said that I have no issue with him wanting to hang out with them. What bothers me is him allowing her to go through my stuff. He said that there is not anything that is my stuff in my house because now that we are married, everything is mine and his equally. Hearing that upset me because my husband goes apeshit if I touch his things. I explained that I do not like her going through my things, and my husband started accusing me of cheating. He said I need to show him my journals because if I keep hiding them, it means there is incriminating evidence in them. I told him that that is not the case, and I don't share my journal with people because it is a private thing. But the more I tried to explain my side and draw a boundary, the angrier he got. In his eyes, as his wife, I am supposed to share everything with him, and if I am not doing that, there is something wrong. When I tried to explain that it is because of my mental health and past, he told me that he knew I was crazy when he started dating me, but he did not know that I was this crazy. If he had known, he would not have married me. I don't know. The way he spoke to me did not make me feel safe at all. Update 3. I took my stuff and moved out. Apparently, the stunt mother-in-law pulled on me caused her to get scrutinized by my entire family, as she told everyone that I am this crazy, mentally unstable, completely delusional and unhealthy girl who often has outbursts with morbid stuff in her journal. But seeing me the way I was made it clear to everyone in her near and extended family that she's a liar. She got a lot of heat about it, and as she felt embarrassed about it, she decided that the best way to deal with this is to come over to our house, wait until I came home, start screaming at me, and try to hit me. She was in my space, screaming profanities at me because how dare a dirty orphan like me ruin her image in the eyes of the family. I told her that she ruined it by trying to read out my journal. She shoved me and my head banged against the wall. When I stood up, she was still screaming at me, getting in my face and calling me names. She lifted her hand to hit me and I pulled out my phone, showing that I was recording this conversation, an old habit from being in abusive foster homes. And if she hits me again, I will go to the police with this. She said I'm an unbelievable and ungrateful brat. My husband was present the entire time this was happening. Mother-in-law went to my husband and my husband chose to comfort her instead of me. It was like the man I knew for 3 years and the man in front of my eyes were two different people as a whole. I told him that I want a divorce, and he told me that he does too. And that is how I ended up in the motel I am currently, working things out on my own. Honestly, I don't think I lost much. I still have my journals and I can now work on my creative writing and trauma without having someone in my business. Your husband and mother-in-law sounds like they're incredibly abusive people. The fact that they think it is perfectly acceptable to go through your journal and force you to open up is shocking. Leave the marriage before they ruin you. You deserve a safe environment, and that ain't it. Get the frick out of that marriage because you deserve better. Next story. My wife, Maddie, and I have been together for 5 years. I have a daughter, Rachel, 14, and son, Mitch, 11, from my previous relationship, and a stepdaughter, Talia, 14. We always have had separate finances and originally had similar paying jobs. While hers has definitely become better than mine, we have stayed as we are, aside from shared expenses being split more equally. Around 7 months ago, we found out Rachel is sick. I've been doing everything I can for her, trying to help her and the best treatment I can afford. But the issue is I can't. I'm draining my savings and can barely afford more basic treatment. I can pay for necessities and treatment, nothing else. Maddie has been financially fine throughout. She's paying more of the necessities, but she's constantly buying Talia things, taking her out, letting her do things that I can't do for either of my children. I know we agreed to have separate finances, and it's not wrong per se, but it's definitely been causing some conflict, though I've tried hard to work it out. I know that it's my responsibility, but it's just not working well. I can't afford extracurriculars for them to go out with friends or special dinners or anything. Rachel's birthday is coming up, and I want to do something nice while we can. I asked Maddie for help if she can cover her birthday because I can't. But Maddie refused. She's paying almost all the essentials and doesn't think she should have to pay for this. That she knows I can't pay her back and it's my responsibility. I understand all that, but it's not fair. I'm not asking for my own sake. Rachel and Mitch are already missing out on so much, and I know how horrible Rachel feels. I just want this one good special night for her. Edit. A few people didn't understand. Rachel is terminal. This is likely her last birthday, which is why I want it to be a real one. Also, I was told to add this. Maddie currently earns 2.5 times as much as me, doesn't have medical expenses, obviously, and pays 80% of the necessities. Ignore the 1 to 2,000, it's not accurate. My budgeting method makes more sense in practice, since having more money saved than needed is never bad, but clearly it doesn't work here. Edit 2. I'm sorry, I'm bad at math. All right. Pretend I said 500. I don't actually need 2,000, and the 1 to 2,000 was clearly dumb, because I wasn't going to whip a calculator out for an AITA post. Christ's sake, it's not a relevant argument. I didn't ask for a 1 to 2,000 from Maddie. It was just a stupid throwaway estimate I made here. NTA, refusing to pay for your sick stepchild's birthday when you are perfectly capable of doing so is pretty harsh. Though I think it's time you and your wife sit down for a more serious conversation, as one part of the family enjoying a much nicer lifestyle than the other is going to start fostering resentment, especially between the kids. YTA for your attitude with money management from the comments. Dude, if these estimates and money counting are how you usually deal with matters like that, I can easily see why Maddie doesn't want to cover your expenses, or why you can't scrape enough to cover them yourself. Seriously? Put some thought into budgeting. How can you not know the rough estimate of how much a kid's birthday costs if you did the same last year? YTA, but let me cushion that by saying understandably. Of course you are desperately worried about your child and want to do everything you can for her, but you made a financial agreement and have admitted that your wife is already carrying more than her fair share of the financial load, allowing you to financially contribute to your daughter's care. Is it really fair of you to ask for even more? The reason she may be spoiling the other children a bit is because often when there is a sick child in the family, all the attention tends to go to that child because, of course, they need extra. However, that doesn't eliminate the other children's needs for care and attention and focus. It sounds to me like your wife is trying to balance everything and keep your home and family running while leaving you the time and your own money to deal with your daughter's health crisis. Next story. I'm a black mother of two 12-year-old twins, and I remarried my husband in the summer, so it's our first Christmas together. It is important that my husband and his son are Caucasian. Anyway, I was putting up our Christmas tree and decorations because it's time and it's the last Sunday before the kids get swamped with finals, and we like to do it together. I asked my husband and stepson if they'd like to join, and they said yes. Now, as we're putting stuff up, my husband starts making commentary on how everything is black. I have little black nutcracker ornaments and statues, and we have a little Christmas village full of black people. I shrugged it off, and we kept going until it was time to bring out the angel tree topper. It was a black angel, and my husband stopped me and pulled me to the kitchen. He said we couldn't have all these black decorations when we were now a mixed family, and that we had to go and get some regular nutcrackers and people for the village as well as a regular tree topper. This is where I might come off cold, but I said no. No discussion, just no. I told him that if we ever left this house, he and his kids would get to see regular decorations and tree toppers and Santa and all that stuff outside. But my kids wouldn't get the same. And the least they deserved was to walk into their house and see decorations that looked like them. Plus, it took me a really long time to find all my decorations, and I was going to give them to my kids when they moved out, so no. He said I was being selfish and unwelcoming and that it wasn't fair for his son to have to leave the house to feel like he belonged. I told him it wasn't the same, and he asked me to explain how. But I wasn't in the mood to have such a heavy discussion, so I just shook my head and told him to read a book. I don't know, was I too harsh? Should I go get some non-black decorations? Will this really affect my stepson negatively? I don't want him to feel like he doesn't belong, but I don't think that's even possible. AITA? Edit. For the most asked questions, my stepson is 10. We spent Christmas together, but never at my house because I usually spend it with my family. My kids and I did Christmas at my mom's, and then I would go be with him that night. I'm hosting Christmas this year because my mom says I'm finally married again and it's my turn. He didn't have any decorations at his apartment, and when I asked, he said he just wasn't a big decorations guy. Also, yes, he did say regular. That wasn't inferred. That word is straight from his lips to this post. Also, when he said we need to go out and get regular decorations, I don't know if he meant as replacements or as add-on, but I took it to mean as a replacement to make his son more comfortable, which is why I shut it down immediately. He went out with some friends tonight, so I'll see if we can have a conversation about it when he gets back. Thank you all for your comments. ESH. I get where you're coming from as a black woman. I love my black ornaments and black Santa, but you're in an interracial marriage. It should be okay to do both. Your husband sucks because apparently white decorations are normal. Does that mean you and your kids aren't normal because you're black? I feel like your marriage may be in trouble. ESH. Your husband sucks for calling white people regular people instead of pointing out he would like the decorations to match the mixture of the house, assuming those were his exact words. You suck for insisting on only black decorations when you chose to marry a white man and help raise a white stepchild. I don't think a white child would be traumatized by a black angel, but your insistence on only black decor is unfair given the context of your family. You can keep your existing decorations while also buying some new items to integrate the decor. If your husband's mother is still alive, she might have some items she would be willing to pass along that could lower the cost of integration. Stay tuned for more stories from Our Girl Relationships.